Hi guys, today I'm Toya and I will be showing you how to do middle splits. Okay guys? Okay, and I'm going to be putting on a video on the TV here and I have the remote. So ready? And I'm going to put it on now. I'm going to put on this one. You can barely see. Let me go closer. See it here, this one. Okay guys, get ready to flex. But first, got to fix the camera so you guys can see me on the TV. Okay, let me come over closer. Oh, guys, you can see me. Ready, guys? Oh, ready. It's loading, guys. Gonna put on the remote. Here it is. Let me turn it on.
I'm Megan. I'm Sierra. And I'm Maggie. And we're from TC2. For today's video, we are going to be doing another one-day tutorial. So we wanted to do a back bend kickover in today's tutorial. And we're going to do both the back bend part and the kickover part. So
it's a 2-in-1 special. Also, before we get started, if you have not subscribed already, please do. We would appreciate it.
So let's get started with the tutorial.
There. Let's get started.
Alright, so the only prerequisite really thing you guys should have before trying your back
Get
bend
your
kickover
mats.
is a bridge up. This is just because it's going to be the position you have to be in anyway, so it's going to just help you out. You know what it feels like.
Like this, guys.
So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first component, which is the back bend. And so the first thing I'm going to recommend is figure out how wide your feet should be. I recommend going shoulder width, maybe a little bit bigger than shoulder width. If your feet are too close together, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to bend your back more. So spread your feet out. It'll be much easier. Second thing, make sure you bring your arms all the way up to your ears before even bending backwards. A lot of times when people get started, they'll have their hands down here and they just like to go for it. And your hands are not going to be ready to touch the ground. So start up tall, and then look your head up towards the ceiling and look at your pinkies. That way when you start bending backwards, you're going to be seeing the ground much earlier. You're going to anticipate the ground, and it'll be much easier to actually do the back bend.
Alright, so in a back bend, you obviously have to bend your back. So you don't want to just kind of go flat down. You don't just want to be a board. You want to really think about bending at your lower back. Your lower back is your hinge. You want to go, and you want to think about that. And that's where you should feel the little pincherooski.
So to give an example of what Maggie's talking about, the video on the left shows Megan not really bending her back versus the video on the right is her bending her back, and that's going to make it easier to do the back bend.
Alright, another thing that you shouldn't do, and I know we keep saying things that you shouldn't do instead of things you should do, but I feel like half the time people could do it if they just correct these small things that they're doing. So, what you should not do is when you're bending back, have your heels lift off of the ground or just go here. Do you guys see what I'm doing here?
Do a Michael Jackson.
Little Michael Jackson moment. We do not want to do that because if your feet are coming off the ground, you're going to be so unstable and you will not make it to your hands. So keep everything firmly planted. And again, like we said, make sure you're bending through your back, not through your knees.
I'll make you see the TV instead of me. Okay?
Okay, so I know a lot of you guys, if you've watched back bend tutorials before, have probably seen the whole walking your hands down a wall thing. We're going to get to that, but this next thing is kind of a precursor to that, where we're really going to be using it to focus on, people say, make sure you're looking back for the ground. You have to comprehend what that's going to feel like and what you're actually looking for. So we're going to do the whole start that we said at the beginning. Feet shoulder width apart, hands up, nice and tall, and I'm going to look up. So now what I'm focusing on, I'm okay, as I start bending backwards towards this wall, what does that look like? When am I seeing the wall? Stuff like that. So, just a little bit, I see the wall. So I think it's just if you've never gone backwards before, it's a whole new concept, and you're if you just start going for a back bend, you're not going to comprehend seeing anything. So I think this is good to get in the habit of comprehending what you're seeing, knowing what to expect when. So do that first, just a little bit of quick bend there, and you can come back up. Yeah.
Alright, so now we're going to use our handy dandy wall friend again. And we're going to go all the way down to the ground. This is really good if you don't have a spot because it's kind of just like a built-in spot. So you're going to go up, look at your pinkies, and walk your hands all the way down.
And you guys might have to walk your feet out as well if you end up standing too close on accident.
And you can go back up. But yes, the closer you are, the more your back has to bend, so I'd recommend starting further out and closer.
So if you are lucky enough to have someone to help spot, we are going to demonstrate what that spotter should do to make sure you're doing your back bend safely. So gymnast stands like you normally would.
Spotter stands to the side, puts one hand on their back, and they can put one hand on your thigh to make you more comfy and safe.
Okay, and then I'm going to bend backwards. Spotter is going to support my back to make sure that, like, if I were to fall, that I'm not going to fall down to the ground. So I bend back.
And you support their back. Ta-da!
So we're getting to like the final component of the back bend portion of the tutorial, and so that's going to be using panel mats. I would honestly stick to like using panel mats or mats of some kind instead of just stacking up random stuff. Like maybe an ottoman is fine, but like don't do tables or anything like that. Stick with something soft. And you can stack a lot of panel mats up. We only have one, so that's what we're going to demonstrate, but you can literally start with them like super high and work your way down. But if you do that, and make sure you put them against a wall so you don't like have panel mats sliding back and forth. Just like you were doing with the wall over there, make sure you're standing like an appropriate distance. I would say you can start closer if you want, because if you're starting too far, then like, you're not even going to be on that, and then you're going to be doing the whole back bend, which is what you can't do right now. So, start a little bit closer, and then, obviously this can be much higher again, so you don't have to go that far back. But then, you're working on going back, and then, you don't have to stand up if you can't do that either. You can just reach down like that. And then, once you get good at doing that, like over and over again, then go, not this way. Take off a level, and honestly just like progress slowly. You don't have to take like the whole mat away. Just do like one at a time, get consistent at each level, and then eventually you're going to end up on the ground.
Sorry guys, but there's an ad.
With access to 3,000 classes, yoga, strength, HIIT.
You're welcome.
Alright, so for the first step of a kick over, you're going to go into your back bend, which you just learned, and then practice just lifting your leg up to get used to being on one leg.
Before also completely trying to go for the kick over, I feel like it's also super important to mention that
Hold on,
back
guys, let's
flexibility.
try that.
You don't have to be super flexible to have a back bend kick over, but you need to be aware of if it's an additional problem to why you're not being able to kick over. So, let me go into back bend, and then I'll show you the difference between kicking from like a super spread out, not flexible back versus one that's like not flexible, but closer
I did
together.
it.
So, if you have a super unflexible back, maybe your back bend looks like this. Now my feet are super far from my hands, and I would kick so much harder. Versus if you can get closer together, that's going to be easier. Alright, so we're going to show you what these spotters are going to do for the kick over part. So, go ahead and go into your back bend like you already have.
Spotter you want to be on the side they're going to kick with, go underneath, hand on leg, help them, guide them, maybe push them up, but not that.
Okay, we are going to revert back to what we were doing with the back bends, but this time, guess what? You can do the same thing with the kick over part too. We're going to start super high and then work down lower. Again, this is all we have to start with, but you could start much higher, and if you're all the way up here, like, it's going to be a pretty easy kick over, okay? So whatever you can make work, it's fine. So, I would not recommend back bending you to this. Just bridge up because that's a long way down. If yours is high enough, then you could do a handstand, bend your feet over. But
Guys, you can use
also
pillows.
bridge up.
Let's do it.
And then kick. Again, there's not much to that because again, if you're starting super high, you're gonna be able to kick over. So then, let's go down a level. Make sure you do the other level like consistently beforehand before going down. That's what makes this part foolproof. Bridge up. Make sure your hands are nice and close. And kick. Also, what might help is instead of keeping both your feet like down stuck to the ground and trying to kick both over at the same time, I can demonstrate when I'm going to do that. So, I could do this and then just try and kick both of them at the same time. It might be helpful to try and lift your leg up, so that way as soon as I kick the leg that I'm standing on, I'm like already over. See what I'm saying? Okay, just in case I was not super clear, I'm going to try and help like demonstrate by pointing to stuff. So Sierra, she's kicking this leg over, and it's so close to the midline, and once her leg gets over this, like it can start pulling her down, which is helpful. So once she kicks over and gets to middle, she's hardly doing anything. That's kind of the point I was trying to make.
Also, another handy dandy tip is to make sure that your legs are split the whole time. They should not be together until you are on the ground. Complete it.
So once you tried out all those tips, you should have your back bending over, and it should look something like this. And then of course make sure you finish position. If you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, if today's video was not like something you needed to learn, we have a
Okay
whole
guys,
tutorial
did you
for this.
like that? I'm gonna put on the next
We
video.
have a ton of tutorials, so
Remember, I'm gonna put on the next
We shall
video.
the last week's video goes
So let's go.
Thank you so much for watching it.
Okay, it's coming on. I turned it down.
Hey guys, it's Dana, and happy first day of summer. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a stretch routine with the most effective stretches for getting your splits. If you've been subscribed on here for a while, you know that every summer I like to do a stretching challenge with you guys, and this year I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently. So basically, every 2 weeks I'm going to put up a new stretching challenge, and this video is actually a 2-week stretching challenge to help you get closer to your splits. So what the challenge is you follow along to this quick stretch routine daily for the 2 weeks, and I've created a playlist for you guys with 7 of my other stretching routines that will also help you get closer to your splits. So if you'd like, you can add one of those stretching routines onto this one as well. Also, if you'd like to take a before and an after picture of your splits from this challenge and share it with me, just use the hashtag AnnaMcNulty Challenge on Instagram or TikTok, and I'll be looking through that hashtag often. I know this intro was super long, so now let's just go right ahead and get on into the stretch routine. For the first stretch, reach down trying to touch the ground. If you can't go all the way down to the ground, that's completely fine. Just reach down as far as you can while keeping your back flat. This stretch will help to improve hamstring flexibility, which is essential when doing the splits. Now come up to standing, and we're going to do kicks back and forth to warm up your legs. You can now switch sides. Reach down towards the ground again, and then walk your hands and legs out into this downward dog position.
Mommy said change that and put back her table.
One leg as high as you can. Obviously, I already have
Mommy
this
said
set,
put
so
back
when
her
you're down the
table.
dog, I'm able to lift my leg up into one. But if you look like the modification in the top left corner, that's completely fine, and the more you do this routine, the higher you'll be able to lift your leg. Switch to repeat that stretch on the other leg. I know you're probably wondering why we're doing this side, since you're probably only trying to get the splits on one side, but it's still really important to try and keep both sides as even as possible. Staying in this position, you're going to kick your leg back and forth, trying to kick it even higher than you were able to lift it.
months you
Cakes
spend
on your
asleep, and
other
a
leg.
days and a weeks. A years you there asleep.
Mommy said change it and put
Eat
back
breakfast,
the
go
table.
sleep.
I'm coming.
Cook lunch, go back, go sleep.
I got one
Eat
too.
dinner, go sleep.
Got to
And I myself? Alright. Just say it.
Just I know.
Huh? Sleep.
How are you, Sham? Yeah, I'm no. Talk to food. Huh?
Now step your leg
Nothing
into
to
a
it.
lunge, trying to push your back thigh towards
What
the
you
front.
say?
This is a very effective stretch for getting your splits, so if you're trying to get them, I recommend doing this stretch every single day.
Okay, right. Let's see. I'm a boss. I'm here today. And I'm early in the morning. Leave late in the night.
Now lift
I
up your
just
hips and try to
put
push
in
your
a
back
different
leg
direction
even
now.
closer to the ground.
We have to have sun.
So when other people are resting upon chat, other people are resting couple hours, don't
I'm
talk
saying-
because you spend years on
They spend week asleep. Week asleep.
Every day I'm on the road. It's only Friday I go and I never walk on the road.
Bend the back leg and pull it
Come
towards
on,
you to feel
Panero.
an even deeper stretch in your back thigh.
You have things to do.
Now bend your back leg and straighten at the front one and reach over
What
top
I
of the
say about the
straight leg
commenting?
to a backward lunge.
Okay. What problem? You tired?
Mommy said to her more
Straighten
than
out
one
both
time
legs
to
while
put back
reaching
our
over top of
table
the
and
front
take
one
off
to
the
feel a
one.
very
Why?
deep stretch in your
Why?
hamstrings.
Turn
Yeah.
a good chair.
Most people who do that have snack like later.
So exercise that stuff that.
Yeah, exercise.
How are that?
One.
Get splits.
Yeah, shut down.
Makes
That's
sense.
so
Here, rotate your hips to
not
reach
wrong
to
with
the
that.
center.
Yeah.
Have a break now, tell you that. When that done, break.
Okay.
Not wrong with that. Play football.
And
Yeah.
finally reach to the other side.
Exercise. You do some only for exercise. And stop eating too much liquid. You take a smaller cup instead of a big cup.
Next, we're going to repeat the
Exercise.
backwards lunge on your other leg. Next, place the front leg in a straddle position straight on the ground while keeping the other one bent and reach over top of the straight leg. Now reach over top of the bent leg. We're going to repeat that stretch with the other leg bent in, starting with reaching over top of the straight leg. You can now reach over top of the bent one.
Next, lay on your back and then lift one leg up towards your chest with it bent. Now try to straighten out the bent leg. If you don't feel a stretch just by straightening it, try to pull it even closer to you, but just stop where you feel a stretch. Depending on how far down you were able to bring your leg, you may have to lift it a bit and then pull it across your body. We're now going to repeat all of those stretches lying on your back on the other leg, starting with pulling it up bent. You can now straighten the leg and pull it as close to you as you can.
Huh?
And finally, pull it across your body.
Alright guys, that was it for the stretching. Bye guys, see you tomorrow.